Hey. Back again. Here in my she shed. So, you can really see I got my tripod back. I was blaming the kids on missing a part, and I found it in the shed. Shame on me for blaming my children. Alright, so today I went to the store and I got a double-sided rubber mallet. Definitely excited about this one because I want to be able to put some rings on the mandrel and hit it and not mar my silver. So I ended up getting one with like a rubber mallet and then one with a more rubberized mallet. So anyways, glad I got another tool. Also, I got a package from Beaducation. I purchased some more stuff. I tend to go to their site first and compare as far as Amazon goes. So I purchased, let's see here, a couple of different things just to get my feel. I kind of want to not show my address. So I ended up getting some random stuff. I ended up spending about $75, and because I've purchased a lot from them in the past, I was able to have a $5 credit. So that's really cool. And I'm gonna go ahead and open it. Show you guys what I got. More stuff that I can't live without, right? So, oh, a little sticker. Hey, pretty things inside. That's actually super cute. So I love when people give you bags and it's not sealed so you can reuse this. I am a repurposer. So I ended up getting what is a mandala set of stamps. So the stamps on top, there they are. So they're roughly between 4 millimeters and 3 millimeters, and I really like the way that they looked to embellish some more of the design. So this was, I wanted to get something that was a little bit more neutral so that if, you know, when I do end up ever finishing my little ring here in the future, I'll have the ability to embellish this a bit more. So that's why I got it. And of course for rings, to add subtle embellishments there too. So another thing that I ended up getting were bigger files. Hi. The ones that I had are teeny tiny. Basically, same company, larger files. I was working with these teeny tiny little cuties here. And now I can work with something that's a little bit more for the size of my hands, not for kitty hands. 5 pieces, 5.5 inches long, and you see they're just so much bigger. Hi. So yeah, really excited about that one. I also, that's all that she wrote inside the box. I also got a few other things, which I'm really excited about. I got a free gift, a freebie, a 14 gauge aluminum blank, and then a smaller one perhaps. These. Really fun. I'll put those with my other little blanks that I have. And then I got a little fringe because she's cute to add to that blank. And here's the things, some of the things that I purchased. I went ahead, and you may have seen in the first Soldering Chronicles video that I happened to purchase some little soldering cups. So I have them in copper. I have them in a serrated bezel cup, And then I have these, so a 3mm, a 4mm, and these are 4mm copper, sterling silver copper. So I decided to pull the trigger and buy some Moonstone and some carnelian in 4mm sizes. So this is fun, this is exciting. Definitely will add fun little embellishments to it, and I love the hint of blue that the Moonstone provides. So very cute, and I think it'll add just a personal touch to make it all fancy smancy. Another thing I got that I'm so excited about are solderable accents. Of course, I got, let's see if I can show you here in camera, everything's backwards from StreamYard, so I'm kind of not used to it. I got crescent moons and bees, both in sterling silver. So definitely so fun. Whether I turn these into earrings, whether I solder them to an actual ring band, I got 5 of each, and they were relatively inexpensive. I was quite surprised at the price. So, and the big kahuna that I went ahead and purchased was this copper for like a ring band. It is flat on both sides. Since I have quite a few copper blanks, you have something that you can show that you made. Yeah. I'm working on this right now. I successfully soldered a ring band to the back of a base plate. This is gonna be a ring, and I have my little stone that I'm gonna put in here, but there is quite a bit more work that needs to be done for this guy to be finished, as you can see. And I went ahead and added another light in here, and I think it just only makes everything 1,000 times better. So yeah, this is the guy that I have I've been working on this whole time. It's just, I may honestly have to solder a new bezel back. Hi. And figure out how to do it. Last night it was just getting too late, and for me the sun was going down, so I added more light. And I think what I'm going to end up doing today is hopefully, oh, thank you so much. I got asked today, I went to the thrift store, not the thrift store, where did we go? Went to Ace Hardware, went to a hardware store. And that's where I picked up my mallet. And some lady was like, "Are you a hairdresser?" And I'm like, "No." She's like, "I'm an ex-hairdresser," and I'm all, "Cool, right on." But should I have been flattered at that remark? But I didn't. It's like the worst possible time to give me a compliment like that. Maybe it was a compliment, I don't know, haphazard compliment. I've got my pickle heating up, and I'm gonna put some stuff away, just that. I may end up, yeah. I melted this last night, so I am just gonna have to scrap this. Put this with the rest of my scrap, because I burnt it. I melted it, rather. I didn't burn it. So I do have a bag full of scrap from collecting and opening jewelry and such. So I'm just going to stick that in there, and which gives me an opportunity to start over, which is great. Sometimes you need to do that. Sometimes it's just something you need to do. So I'm really excited. Definitely getting there. There's a lot of stuff. It takes a lot of, I think we have a troll, really? Thank you, thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah. My wire for wire wrapping came in and it's frustrating how many times. Yeah, that's why people just go with copper at first as opposed to getting sterling silver wire. But that's okay. It's definitely okay. Wire wrapping was not, it did not work out for me. I just could not do it. I always knew it was going to be a segue for me to do something else. I just knew that I had to try it just to say I tried it. But that's all it went. And that's all she wrote. So I guess today what I'm going to be doing is redoing a bezel wire, redoing my bezel wire. I'm going to throw this back in the pickle. I may have to sand the top of it a little bit because there was old solder on there that didn't melt. I'm going to remake a bezel wire that will fit my stone in question, and with this light you can really see my stone better. And try to see if I can make it work. I didn't really get to show in great detail, but yesterday these were the whales that I fixed for my mom. These are for her second ear hole, and the posts broke on them, and I went ahead and fixed them. The one that is brighter is the one that I fixed, so I'm really excited about that. So I'm gonna dig in my drawer here, and I am going to look for my bezel wire, which it's somewhere. Here it is. I eventually will get more organization. And I'm frightened. Hey, Jenny! Frightened as all get out to use this. This is 24 gauge, and it's a 3x3 of sterling silver. I think when I master everything, not master everything, but when I get closer to feeling more comfortable soldering instead of melting, probably gonna use that. But here we go. Use my mat, get this out. Okay, so I've got two different widths. I've got both, and I'm gonna use the scalloped, similar to what I had last time, because I feel since I'm a beginner, it might be the best bet for me when setting this stone into this ring that I have, that I've slapped in the pickle. So I'm gonna go ahead and try not to waste too much product, and my best guess is to go with the larger one because I can always sand down what I don't need. And go from there. I'm gonna take out my hard solder. I'm gonna put my little babies, my Moonstone teeny tiny cabochons, my carnelian cabochons, and slap them back over in my little drizzly drawer there, and get to looking for my hard solder. Which, if I was smart, yay, I'd put it right here. Boom, boom. I could probably use medium, but I'm just gonna go with hard since I'm gonna be using a lot. So I'm gonna go ahead and adjust my camera here a little bit. Apologize for the boob shot. There we go. You guys don't want to see me. Where the goods are. Here we go. So, I'm not even touching my torch right now. I'm literally just going to be fitting the wire over this. So I have my, and I went ahead and purchased from watching videos the 0.999 silver, which is a softer. Doesn't have a lot of alloy. I have my end here that I cut with my flush cutters, and I'm going to bring these out again, and I'm going to just take a little bit here and wrap it around, making sure that I try to stay as flat as possible against the back and as tight as possible to the stone. I'm gonna look here, see if I've got that. I'm gonna take low battery, go figure. All right, I'm gonna take my tweezers, which are, they have a sharp end to them, and I'm just gonna score the flat line. Unroll this, take my flush cutters and hit that line that I made. And you can probably not see the line that I made. Where is it? Where's the line? It is right here. Just a little discoloration. I'm gonna cut, I'm gonna make sure they're flush, and I'm gonna cut on the outside. Oh, it's going good. I'm just redoing my bezel since I melted it last night. So, I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna try to see, and I'm left-handed, so a lot of times I watch videos and a lot of people are not left-handed, so I kind of try to manipulate so that what I'm doing is geared more towards left-handed. And I'm just gonna go ahead and snip it. So now what I'm gonna do is clean as I go, as my mother always told me, whether it's in the kitchen or whatever. Put my bezel wire back. And I'm gonna come back here and I'm going to assess my cut. And it looks pretty good. I've got a little bit of overlap, but I've got some burring on there, which means when I cut it, there's a little bit of flakiness. Plus, I want to line these up a little bit better and make sure they're straight. They're not 100% straight as it sits right now. So I'm gonna take my big kid file, my flat one here, and it is both double-sided. So I'm just gonna go in between, I'm gonna open these up a little bit and go in between and file, just so that I have a straight line. And of course, yes, this would be better if I had like a jig, I think it's called. But I'm just eyeballing it to make sure that I have it straight. Because when you are soldering, solder does not fill a gap. So you want to make sure that the two ends that you're going to try to melt together are flush. So again, here I go, placing this on my stone here and lining this up, and they meet pretty well. So I'm gonna put my flush cutters back. I'm gonna put my file back in its home. It smells like plastic and it's delightful. I've got my hard solder here. Let me know if this angle is better for you. You're just basically getting all hand. Eventually I'll have something a little bit more together. Aw, Jenny, thank you so much. It was premature of me to put away my flush cutters because I need to cut some pallions of solder here. I went to the hardware store because I wanted to see if they had charcoal bricks. And they didn't have any charcoal bricks at this particular store, but I think I might just end up buying it off of Amazon, which is fine. And I may end up just having to buy new flush cutters. I probably say this every day that I'm outside, but ugh, these are so fuddy-duddy sometimes. They tend to, first time I use these flush cutters, I went to cut copper and they just twisted. And I'm like, dang, what's the point? So whatever. They weren't very expensive. But the point is I'm upset about it. No, I'm not. I'll survive. It's not the end of the world. So I'm just cutting little teeny tiny. You really don't need a lot. Especially since I have such a small amount to solder. But knowing me, I always like to do a little bit more just in case. So there we go. That's about 4 pieces. I'm gonna make sure I put my solder back in my bag here. I'm going to put my flush cutters away. And I'm going to take my my ring out of the pickle. It's been in there a hot minute. And I'm just going to set it on there. Okay. So, here we go. Aw, thank you so much, Jude. Really appreciate that. She's trying. So, I'm going to line these up. And what I have seen people do. It was in the pickle today too. Is go back and forth, side to side, because you want them basically connected. This is a really poor example. But like I say, probably every single day I'm out here, so much of this is you fiddling with something until you have it the way you want it. Yay! I'm so excited to get mine. Jude, yours went out in the mail yesterday. Or today, excuse me. Really sorry about that. So I am just working on making sure that these are lined up. And again, this being 999 silver, it's a little bit more softer. And I just want to make sure that this is flush and exactly the way it is supposed to be. And right now, these are not sitting the way I want them to be. So I'm gonna have to take my file a little bit more here, the flat one that I was using, and hit these a little bit more towards the other side. And even if this is not at the perfect angle, I can always adjust it after I solder it. It's like a twofer. I'm getting my nail and the ring. Okay. Hi. Okay. So again, okay, yeah, I like the grip better on that. Always important to make sure you get all the sides, front and back. Look at that. everybody. That's an exceptional solder seam there. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I am going to lay this guy on its side. Try not to fiddle with that perfect seam. All right, laying it on its side. Blah, 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 blah. Got my flux. Yep. I swear, the trolls come and take my stuff when I am not looking. My flux brush. Where'd you go? It's bright and red. Whatever. I got this other one. So, I have to have something. Eventually, this whole back section of my my station is gonna have pegboard. I have some pegboard, and I'm gonna make it real fancy. But, anyways, all right. Here's the deal. I'm gonna hit the seam. I'm just gonna hit the whole thing, guys. Flux not only tells the solder where to flow, but it also helps prevent fire scale, which basically, if you think of soldering as a team, the soldering and the flux work together hard so that the pickle doesn't have to work as hard. So putting it back up, work with me. And again, since I'm using a kiln brick, you can just score the bottom of this kiln brick here to make more of a flat surface for you to stick your ring band on or your bezel on. So I'm just gonna slap a little bit more here. And I'm gonna do what I did yesterday. I'm gonna do a little crystallization of the flux. So basically, yes, it's important. I'm gonna crystallize and heat up the flux a little bit, because when you put something wet and you heat it up, the oxygen and the movement causes the little chips, your little pallions, to jump sometimes. So before I do that, of course, I'm going to take everything out of the way that is flammable. That includes plastic, that includes paper, and that includes the flux over here. So again, there it is. I'm going to go ahead and just briefly heat up and that's what I mean by briefly. You can't really see very well, but it is crystallized. It is bubbled. I'm going to take my pallions, which I mentioned earlier are teeny tiny. I don't know if you'll even be able to see them in comparison, but I'm going to stick them hot dog style, not hamburger, but hot dog style right there on the bezel, so that I'm going to get the most out of it. And I cut them long ways, hot dog style, if you will, this way, so that I can maximize. I'm just going to use a toozy, just 2 of them there. And I'm going to stick the other ones out of the reach of the fire, just in case I goof. So what's going to happen now is I'm going to take it, I'm going to heat it up, and once the solder starts to flow, I'm going to take my solder pick and I'm going to knock it over, and then I'm going to heat the back, which would be the outside, and have the flux come all the way through. So again, my area is clean of anything flammable. And let's get started. My flux, my solder flowed, and I burnt the doo-doo out of it. My fire was on, way too hot. Because it was hard solder and I'm used to soldering on copper, I just came in way too hot. Classic example of my life. Coming in way too hot. No big deal. Practice makes perfect, am I right? So here we go. Take 1177,202. No, it's really not a big deal. It's okay. So let's do it again. All right, same deal. I'm gonna straighten out some of my my bezel wire. Making sure it's nice and tight. Line that sucker up. Score it. All right. Boom. Got my line. Got my flush cutters. It's just perspective. I try really hard to just be as real as I can. But everyone makes mistakes and everyone fails. And again, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to file them so I can make them as straight as possible. I got a little bend in my wire here, so I'm going to take my flat and just flatten them out just a smidgel. Like I mentioned, the important thing is that it doesn't necessarily have to keep the shape. You want to go back and make sure that your stone's going to fit without there being any kind of gap or anything. So I have like a little bit of play, which is fine with me. And this time I'm going to take my, I'm going to take my ring holder here. And I'm going to take the edges and stick them in here. All right, before I do that, I'm going to plug my phone in. Something to put on my Amazon grab list is wax for my armpit, guys. Well, my armpits, I have 2 of them. I've been neglecting that. I dropped it on the floor. Winter chicken dinner. And now I gotta find it. Who does this? Who drops stuff? Am I right? Look at magic if I found it. All right, found it. There we go. Real life Chronicles. And I'm wearing my Minnie Mouse pants. I even forgot to put on my fancy schmancy apron today. I knew I was forgetting something. Alright. Now we're all dirty. Now it feels real. So I'm going to take this side that's more flat. Hope everyone's having a good day. And I am just gonna come at it. I did cut this. Hi, Patty. I cut this one a little bit more cockeyed, I see, than the other side. The thing is I have a bench pin, which is this guy right here. But my edge is too thick to adhere my bench pin to. So I'm gonna have to figure out figure it out a little bit better. So here I go again, lining it up. Putting the cheese wedge in there, hitting it. Ooh, that's a fancy sound. All right. Which is short for no. It's not a good sound. No. All right, I think it's the way I like it. I'm gonna hit this side a little bit more. Now this is a good, you know, brace to have you here. Straight line, straight line, straight line. Okay, straight line, straight line, straight line. As long as you keep the file on here. You can take your saw, your jeweler saw. You can take your Dremel if you wanted to, but I just don't want to do that right now. So I feel like I should earn my keep by hand filing. So here we go. All right, I'm gonna take my cheese wedge out, take that out of there, wedge it back in, back in the drawer. And I'm gonna take my stone and I'm gonna wrap it around here. And I'm gonna fit it, making sure that it's solid against the bench here, so that I can make sure that I'm not unleveling it. And I've got quite a bit of overlap, to me more than I could have sanded off. So what I'm gonna do is take it, make sure it's really tight, and I'm gonna score it just where I see that there. And I'm gonna hit it one more time again. It's quite a bit. And you know, the fun thing about this is any little scrap that I have, you can heat it up and they'll turn into little balls, which could make accent pieces. So everything is going to be repurposed and utilized. And that looks a lot better for me. All right. So again, I'm gonna play the straighten out game here. And I'm gonna work this together. And that happens so fast that I was just not prepared. So what you're looking for is a solder seam all the way through. And any bit of solder that I have left over that's on here, if let's just say I put too much, I can always file off, which is super duper dandy. Okay, so I'm pretty certain I can just put away some of my tools I had here. And I'm going to flux again. Flux the whole thing. Inside. Okay. And so I'm going to do the similar thing that I did before. Now I'm gonna lower the heat all the way down on my torch. And I'm gonna take this back just a little bit. I'm basically wanting the flux to crystal up. And there it is. Just like that. So, I'm gonna take my tweezers here and I'm gonna grab my extra that I cut earlier, like I was some kind of genius and I knew that there might have been a goof. Again, hard solder. La 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 la. Tongue out is very important for concentration, just in case you were curious. And apparently I don't know how to use tweezers. What's happening? Where'd you go? There you are. It's not hot. At this point, I've been fiddling with it for so long that the heat has gone away from it. All right, so now that they're set, and they're not, what's happening? Okay. I'm gonna have to wet it so that it'll stick just a little bit. There we go. Trial and error, everybody. Trial in the air. For the love of Pete, what's happening? All right, there it is. All right, let's try this again. Okay, flame on, and I'm taking this way back here, way back. Coming in a little bit closer. May have to turn my flame up just a little bit, but I'm gonna have a little bit more patience. And I'm really watching that solder bit. Come in, flow, please don't melt. There it fluid. Tip it, apparently all the way around here. Hit it again on the outside. And I have the flow through. Okay, so I'm gonna give it a couple of seconds and then I'm going to quench it in a bit of water. But this is what it looks like. The solder seam's on the inside, as you can see, and then there is the outside to it. You don't like the sound of that torch? Oh well, it's the only one I got. Here it is. And it wasn't even hot enough anymore. Here it is. So I'm gonna go ahead and stick this guy in the pickle. so that I can get all of the stuff off of it. And got this guy here. It's my where everything's gonna go. And I'm gonna take my file that I had, the flat file. Seems to be the best for the job that I have right now. And I'm just gonna take off, not really trying to level it out, more so I'm just trying to remove some of the old solder there that I had attempted. But what I might do is come in with a piece of wet dry sandpaper that is 400 grit, so it's a little bit coarse, and hit the top of it in a circular motion as to try to get a lot of the solder, the used solder off. Circular motion so that you're evenly distributing pressure and it doesn't just go to one side. And yeah, I'm really happy with my solder seam that I did last night on this. We're learning. This is definitely going to be a piece to remember. All right. So that guy's right there, and I'm gonna put him back in the pickle while I mess with some medium solder here. And I'm gonna take this now. That was pretty much garbage. Well, it's not. It's not usable for this project in particular, but that doesn't mean that I'm not eventually gonna use it. So, excuse me. I'm gonna take some medium solder, cut it up. Similar way here. Too soft? What's going on here? Oh no, here we go. Cut it up, but I'm going to use a lot more, and I'm going to tell you why. When you're working with a bezel situation and there's a lot more, room, I want to hit and place the Pallian's Beaducation, kind of referred to it like a clock. So you have the top, the bottom, and you're basically gonna hit it 2, 4, 6, 7, 8 times, eight pieces of solder, just enough to cover the main game. So I'm gonna cut myself up a little bit here. What's everybody had for dinner? Went to Costco today, and I don't know if it's because I'm getting old or a mom. Either way, they had a new salad out, spicy Asian salad. It looked good. Had like corn. It was one of those pre-packaged ones. And my husband and I try to get the spring mix that's been washed like a million times. And we usually kind of beef up our already salad like that. And they didn't have any rotisserie chickens out, which they sometimes do, they sometimes don't. Today they didn't. How many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's do 2 more just for funds. So we didn't get a chicken, but that's okay. They've got really good prices on protein, or else I don't know if I would shop there. And their fruit is really good as well. I like it. I've got a Costco. A lot of people have Sam's Club. It's fine. Each whatever. We were working our way down to the registers, and some person just rolled up and they had like a shaved ice. It was like a huge shaved ice, and I'm like, where did you get that from? I was pretty jelly. All right, so I cut enough, or at least I think. I could always cut more. And let's do it here. I'm going to need my third hand to hold my doodad. my ring because there's a band on the bottom of it. So nice and clean. This is what they look like. Straight out of the old pickle. Just gonna dry them off a little bit. Okay. And I already have marks from where I did this previously, where I want it to go. So it's gonna be fun. All right, cool. So I'm gonna dry this off. And this is what it ended up looking like after. What I'm probably gonna do is take some of my higher grit sandpaper which I have somewhere, which I have right here, and this is 3000, and go back and forth over this solder seam to polish it up and kind of make it go away. I didn't do that last time. And again, just taking a little bit of the extreme noticeability out of it. And again, just polishing the whole ring with this while I'm at it. And of course, the next thing is going to be, if I have it flat, and I'm going to take my little bit of a higher grit sandpaper that I use to hit the top of this here, and go in a circular motion, again, so that I am not distributing uneven weight, pushing it down so that I can get it as flat as possible. And before I solder it on, I'm going to take my stone and I am going to press it in. It has a open back here, so I don't have to worry about it, but it is nice and snug. It's not going anywhere. So there it is. And I'm just going to pop it out, making sure that I didn't lose too much of the shape, because I don't want to solder it on and it not fit. Wouldn't that be something? So, all right. I am going to solder the whole copper back plate quite liberally. I'm going to stick, well, I'm going to solder this too. Most importantly, solder the inside, solder the bottom side, outside. After I stick it on, I'll go ahead and solder the piece, or flux the piece. Did I say solder? I meant flux, excuse me, so sorry. Flux it, making sure it is coated, and gonna line it up and hit it a little bit more on the inside here. Take my tweezers and I am going to just move it, pulls a little bit closer to me, move it in the way that I want it. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the pallions that I cut earlier, and I'm actually going to cut that one in half because that one's ginormous. And I'm going to stick them in here. And I'm going to put them in the middle first. Just put them in the middle. And then I'm going to take my solder pick and move them around. Or I can take my tweezers, it really doesn't matter. But I am going to cut this little piece here a little bit better. And I broke a nail today and I got to re-gel it. Not wanting to get my fingers all that work, and I dropped it. How many do I have on here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Son of a gun. Ah, here's some little bits on the bottom. Thank you, Past Devin. Appreciate it. There. Hey, look at that. Okay, here we go. I'm going to pick it up, or attempt to pick it up. This is a ginormous pallion. You're not... Do you see what's happening? Do you see how my snips have just decided, instead of cut normally, like normal, they're like... Like, you guys aren't best friends. Like, just cut my pallion. Like... Like, I appreciate it. I love the love, but not at this particular moment. I just want to cut this. Thank you. I wish I had been this patient when shipping. Oh gosh, I so sorry that I missed your comment, Doug. It says, go confidently in the direction of your dreams, live the life you imagined. It's a quote by Henry David Thoreau. It's actually written in my grandmother's handwriting. When I turned 18, I knew I wanted to have something to represent her. And so I had like a little inspiration board when I was in high school, and I asked my grandma if she could write that quote out for me, because in high school I really loved Ralph Waldo Emerson and a lot of Henry David Thoreau's writings. I really enjoyed it. And so I asked her, hey, can you write it for me? And she said, sure. And she wrote it, and then I had the tattoo artist tattoo it on me. And when I got it done, I said, look, Grandma. And it probably took her a year or so to write anything for me again. She wouldn't even write like grocery lists for me or anything. She would type it out. And I'm like, Grandma, this is next level. But I get it. I tricked her, but she wouldn't have done it any other way. It's just the way it is. But now that she's sick, you know, it's nice to know it's right there. Anyways. Got a little bit of her with me. So I've got the solder on. I did it. And it's in the place where I want it. Now, I'm just going to see. I'm going to see how this goes. I'm going to put my flame on a little bit higher since I am working with the copper. My goal here is going to be to try to heat the underside of this, heat up the metal, and not so much the bezel itself. So that all of the heat is hitting the back plate so it'll adhere together. So making sure before I turn my torch on, got my solder pick. I'm going to go ahead and cap my flux, put away anything within a flammable distance, including this little guy right there. And let's get going. So I'm going to kind of back away a little bit because I'm going to slowly heat this up because I do not want my flux to jump because I have my pieces the way I want them. Don't jump for me. And of course, a couple of them did. No big deal. So again, it is crystallizing. I am focusing the heat on the outside. I'm going to move that over here a second and move my solder. Focusing the heat on the outside, not the silver. Really getting the copper, not so much the silver. Try to hit it on the underside here. Get it on the inside. Basically slowly getting up to temperature. Copper does have a higher heating rate than silver does. So it's getting there. I can kind of see it start to blacken a little bit. It's a slow, sort of slow process. I'm going to take both hands now because my arm is getting tired. And because she's a weenie, eventually I'll get to that point here. But it is slowly coming up to temperature. I'll be a monkey's uncle. I'm going to flip hands. And there we go. Again, trying to heat up the copper as best as I can here. Trying to bring it up to temperature. Hitting the middle. Going slowly around. It does take a while. I have noticed. Could be quite frustrating, to say the least. Flip back my hand here, and I see the flux really crystallize, so I know I'm almost there, which I know it's a little, but copper takes a bit longer. Really centralizing the heat now in the middle of the bezel. I see the red of the copper really light up here. okay. As I was doing that, my tripod decided to unadhere itself. Now, I think, there it goes again. I'm gonna get a new one today, everybody. Or not today. I'm going to get a new one soon. Tripod. Okay, so the solder didn't flow, which is fine. Heated that sucker up for a while though. Quench it. And look at it. So what I'm gonna do is it's stuck together, but I think it's just because the heat of it. I'm putting it in the pickle. I'm gonna clean it. And go from there. This was probably more of a mountain to take on for my first project, but whatever. In the meantime, how long have I been on? Let's take my ring that I made the first time. You can see it's a little wonky. I'm gonna take my let's see, what am I gonna take? I don't have, let's take a piece here, maybe look through my scrap and see if I have any large solderable accents that preferably doesn't have a stone. I found one yesterday. That I liked. And I'll try to see, throw it in the pickle, clean it off, and see about adding it to my ring. Wouldn't that be fun? Ah, this one. So what I'm gonna do, saw blades, saw lube. I think it's a twist. Your girl don't know how to open the lube. And a push-up? It's a push-up. Like a push-up pop. Alright. And I'm going to take a probably 4/0 saw blade. And they are all like wrapped together. Which is cute. Little wire. We'll just find the end of it. And again, I purchased this off of Amazon because it was the most economical. I'm gonna go ahead and just cut the wire off here, unwrap it. It's like wrapped around a pretty little twine. Loosen it up. Try to see if I can grab one. No. The Soldering Chronicles should be Devin biting off way more than she could ever chew when it comes to projects. Which could also be another name for my novel that I make one day when I'm famous. I mean, there's so many possibilities, you know? So, then I'm going to unravel it. Saw blade, 1. Put the rest of them back in their designated area. You open them up here so it's kind of like a clampy situation. You want to make sure that you can put them down, the blades down. For this particular instance, I'm going to be using them down. So it's all about your preference. Lube up. And I'm going to basically saw off this this side here. And this would be a really good situation where I had my bench block set up. So I'm actually going to do it over here. So I can tighten it up. And put it up against here. And I am left-handed. So basically I'm just wanting to remove where this used to be. Am I doing anything? Am I getting somewhere? That's a great question. All right. Hey, how's it going, everybody? I missed some words. After this ring, any small project will be a piece of cake so far. All right? Probably. Very true. These would be an excellent tool if they cut straight. And as you can see here, taking it off. I'm not going to get rid of this piece here. I'm going to save it. And see, I snipped that and that just came off. Actually quite beautiful. I'm going to need to file this. Thanks for hanging out. Just gonna put this in the pickle. Get my ring out. My bezel out. I think I think I might try the sweat solder technique since it's a different metal. And I'm going to do this. It's never enough time in here, you know? Never enough time. today had to get groceries and do a whole bunch of stuff to prep for the upcoming week. So I didn't get a lot of time out here, and that's okay. I can take whatever I get. So again, gonna flux this back plate here, the house, and I see where my bezel was. So I'm gonna do what I did previously, and I'm gonna hit it with a little bit of heat so it'll crystallize, so that hopefully my solder won't jump. And there it crystallized. And I am going to cut some more solder. Well, what's really cool in positive land is that I really never thought, and I was just talking to my husband about this the other day. I was like, because he had joked with me, and he's like, do you think we can turn the shed outside into a workspace? And I was all, for what? What do you need a workspace for? What are you going to be doing? Who is she? What does she look like? You know, every typical thing an insecure person asks. And, you know, of course, I gave him a hard time about it. And now it's my workspace. It always ends up like that. Even if, like, he's texting his mom. Who is she? What does she look like? There we go. Great buy today, Devin. You got a rubber mallet. I really need to get some flush cutters. Yes, indeedy. There's a whole bunch of them there. They're all there. Tweezers. And I'm just going to place them. Pieces on a clock. 12, 4, 6, 9, and then a few smaller ones in between. That bit over there. All right. So they flowed. Partial flow. That's where I want it. I'm gonna get my guy here, place it on top of my area that I want this to be at, making sure that the solder that I have connects with my solder pieces here. All right. I didn't like the placement, so I stopped. And I think it's a good point to mention that when you're feeling overwhelmed, verklempt, or like, damn, this is really ticking me off, it's a good time to stop. Much like anything in life. So with that being said, don't be afraid to stop and take a break, like me now. Thank you so much for watching, seeing the mess and chaos in stew here. Stew. Hope everyone has a good night. I'll see you in the next one.